welcome back. We're on 6.3. This is part 2, which is inverse trig. So it's going backwards. Okay, so the trig functions, we use regular trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, to find side lengths. We use trig inverse functions, sine inverse, cosine inverse, tan inverse, to find angles. So our first example here. That angles A and B be acute angles in a right triangle. Approximate the measures of the angles to the nearest degree. So if the sine of angle A is 0.87, to go backwards to find angle A, we're going to do the inverse. So the inverse, sine inverse of 0.87 will find us angle A. And you can type that in your calculator. You can't press sine of 0.87. You have to do second sine to do sine inverse. So second sine 0.87 gives you about 60.5 degrees. So that would be 61 degrees. For the second one, cosine of B, to do the opposite of cosine, we do cosine inverse of 0.15, which gives us 81.4, so about 81 degrees. Okay, so that is what you get when you already have the decimal, but typically they're going to be written as ratios or fractions. So in this question, to find angle 1, or find angle A, we are given the opposite, which is 15, and the adjacent, which is 20. Our hypotenuse we don't know, so we have opposite adjacent, that's TOA. We're going to use tangent. Okay, so tangent of angle A equals BC over AB. What that means is tangent of A equals 15 over 20. So we can substitute those values in. Well, the inverse of tangent will solve this question. So we're going to do the inverse of tangent, and then we're going to type in 15 divided by 20. Or the inverse of tangent, type in 3/4, because that's the equivalent fraction. Regardless, you're going to get about 36.9 degrees, so 37 degrees. Okay, so we're just doing the exact opposite. We're doing tan inverse, right? We're doing the opposite of trig. So in this example here, we have the opposite in the hypotenuse. So we're going to use sine. The sine of theta, which that's typically our angle if we aren't given any letters, the sine of theta equals 16 over 40. So we're solving for theta, we're solving for the angle measurement. So the opposite of sine is sine inverse. We're going to do the sine inverse, 16 divided by 40, and we find that's about 23.6 degrees. So about 24 degrees. All right, so that's trig inverse. Just make sure you press second before you type your trig functions in.